one of the fastest growing digital banks in the world, built out of South Africa.
In my view, their social reality is more powerful than what we would call reality.
Not a plan is a plan.
South Africa is always such a hybrid of California mixed with Lagos. It's got this polarity.
I'm Adrian Saville, Professor in Economics, Finance and Strategy at GIBS, and I'm in conversation as part of our podcast series, Fate, Luck and Choice, with Nick Binedell. Great to be with you, Nick.
Great as always, Adrian, and it is fate, the momentum of the past, luck, things you don't control, good or bad, and then strategy, what we both love, choice. So one of the themes I'd want to share with you and talk through is generational change. When I was a youngster, my dad had been through the war and the Depression. When I was about 14, during the holiday, he said, "No more pocket money for you, mate. Go and make your own." So I had to collect wine bottles and do various other things. And it was a very good lesson for me. He built in the entrepreneurial story. When he was 85, he was in hospital, and I wanted to have a conversation at TRC with him about not having given me pocket money. And I said to him, listen, I mean, why did you do that to me? And I said, I wasn't in the Depression, and I wasn't in the war, so why are you laying this on me? Anyway, never had much of an answer. But it made me always interested in not only the value that was as a life lesson, but generational impact. He was a product of the Depression, the war, and he lived his whole life out of that mentality.
And that shapes you.
And that shapes you. So what I'm interested in is generations. And the thing that started for me in Sydney, I was talking to my sister's family, all 25 to 35.
Give us some context. When you
It was about a year ago.
Okay.
And they're 25 to 35. We're having a couple of drinks. And I say, what is your career plan? Not much of an answer. Do you own a home? Not much of an answer. And I realized they had a different generation.
Not a plan is a plan.
Exactly. And they are, of course, the products of 70 years of economic growth. My generation, your generation, we have all the money. They say they'll never be able to afford a house, so they're rental people. They travel like crazy. One of them was skiing instructor in Colorado and then coming back and goofing off. And he'd bought a mini combi and converted it into a mobile home. So when he came back to Sydney for 6 months, he'd phone friends and say, "Can I park in your driveway for a month?" Accommodation sorted.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about this, and I started researching this. What are some of the phenomena? Of course, I went where most of the data is for us, the USA, and I found there's a definite thing. This thing is people under 25 live in a different mindset than we do. They do feel that they've been they're not privileged the way we were. They do see us as having had all the opportunity, having caused house pricing to be so high, and having all the capital. They are all graduates, but they really struggle to get going in corporate life or entrepreneurial life. But the thing that I really started thinking about that I want to share is in that generation of 25 and under, in my view, their social reality is more powerful than what we would call reality. And over the last 10, 15 years, social media in the form of these extraordinary things has, overtaken our lives. And they spend so much time in social media. And so I've started looking at in what ways is good and in what ways is bad. And many, many researchers say this is actually a very big problem. I'm not sure it is, because the Depression helped me in my life. Being the victim of no pocket money was very good for me. I'm sure there are many good things about this, but I wonder what you think about 25-year-olds. It's particularly prevalent amongst young women. Very much higher levels of depression, anxiety, self-identity. Seems very, very strong at the moment amongst middle-class young women.
There's a number of things that you flagged there, Nick. So the first is, this speaks back to the importance of having a young, productive, engaged youth is one of the 6 factors in my 6-factor model, that you want a base of your demographic pyramid that's going to come into your workforce, productive, engaged, innovative, entrepreneurial. And the language that you're using is not quite as animated as the ideas that I've got about the workforce that you want.
I'm thinking of, from a societal point of view mainly.
Yeah.
And partly what you touched on is about the move to the right, that people are becoming more fundamental in their streams of information. The algorithms are working to feed them. And so we don't have a society with social capital. We have a society of algorithms that feed you who you are and tell you who you are, and you get into the cycle of who you are. So now I'm not thinking so much about work animation, but that's a critical part. The return after COVID to work. Many people under 30 are resentful about having to go back to the office.
If that's an inconvenience. So there's at least three lenses here that I want to look at this through. The first is an economic lens.
Right.
What does this mean for the economy?
Yep.
The second is a political lens. What does it mean for the way
electoral systems?
How we pitch up at the polls.
And the expression,
if we pitch up at all.
Yes, and the expression of support in China, or the expression of resistance to the party in China.
And the third, of course, is the social.
Is the social. Exactly.
Does this strengthen fabric? Does this challenge fabric?
I met a psychologist in Sweden in a high school, and works in a high school in the USA, said 40% of their kids of 12 to 14, a year after COVID, needed psychological counseling about how to socialize. They were too scared to go face to face with anybody.
Sweden's the same place, correct me, but this is the same place where kids have been taken off digital devices and back into
lead and pencil.
This old-fashioned thing called a pen.
Yeah, because societies are beginning to explore what this means.
Yeah, and you have to read by touching the pages.
And I suppose the question we need to wrestle with, if we can, is what is this like in South Africa? I remember when I first heard Generation Zs and the Boomers, I realized all that research came out of America. It was the American social structure. It was not the same here. We've had the first generation come through into corporate life and so on, after 94. It's different here. So I don't know how you would interpret this mix between who we are and then how this thing has landed here. Do you think it's different? You've just been to Japan.
Absolutely.
What did you observe there?
Well, I'll tell you what I observed is no babies.
True.
So their demographic.
I have a photo.
Completely inverted.
I have a photo of the only baby in Japan. I drove past the house and I saw a little 3-year-old, took a click. So if you wanted, I'll share it with you. But it's right. Demographics. But go to the social behavior. What did you observe?
Well, I mean, the social behavior in Japan, what I observe is it remains the stuff, that the nation, the country is known for. Disciplined, ordered, regimented.
Yep. But what about the social media? And what about these devices? I know in South Korea it's unbelievable. People live through their devices.
I'd say exactly the same.
In Japan.
Exactly.
So then SA, what would we say about Mzansi?
Well, if you can get cheap available data, then that might shape things. Can I push just a little wider than South Africa and say, I wonder if there isn't an impact here for all of Africa? Because as much as we are in awe of devices, artificial intelligence, data, these incredible technologies, there's a very large risk for all of Africa being kept out of this industrial, this data revolution, our new version of the industrial revolution. You don't have access to data.
Right.
And you're not going to be able to participate in this.
As a customer or as an entrepreneur?
As a customer, as a consumer, as a
government official.
You're locked out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was listening to We Buy Cars, had a statement just the other day, saying that they're now using AI to buy cars. They had bought 2,800 cars only using AI.
Yeah.
And they call that the orange channel. And the blue channel is where you talk to person. Still submitting your data, but someone will come see your car. This has huge implications for how we lead younger people.
Yeah.
Whether, back to my dad's point, because he hacked me off about the depression, is there a generational gap between people of younger than us who are 45 managing teams? What does that mean? how do we, I just was looking at a company in Stellenbosch that uses AI in the sales force, and it's one of these new companies raised $60 million. How do we manage? What does it mean for how we use AI and these other devices and social media in markets, communicating our brand, building reputation? South Africa is always such a hybrid of California mixed with Lagos. It's got this polarity.
There could be in all of this, Nick, there's always magnificent silver linings. And this conversation reminds me of one of the fastest growing digital banks in the world, built out of South Africa.
Right.
Time Bank, fantastic success in South Africa, Philippines, recently moved to Indonesia. One of their business lending channel is built entirely paperless, that we will make a loan to you if you show us the data, we'll show you the money.
So there are two ways of thinking about this as we wrap up. One is to say these kinds of technological changes, from the telephone to the internet to what we've got now, are unavoidable. Mm-hmm. And every person, every institution, every country has to grapple with how to deal with them. And there's a golden opportunity, like branchless banking, right? On the other hand, people will worry. I remember at one time the Kenyan cabinet debated banning the internet because of the porn on the internet, and the cabinet was very conservative, and they discussed it and didn't do it in the end. But so there's the downside of this thing. It breaks down societies. It decreases trust. It decreases the amount of social interaction. And trust is the foundation of society, back to your three
critical
categories. Exactly. So maybe, I don't know where it ends the conversation.
Well, let's close up our conversation with two thought experiments.
Yeah.
If you were a 25-year-old, what would you do in this world? And
the answer is you embrace it.
You embrace it.
You have no option. Your entire social meaning and relationships built around it.
You throw your arms wide open
to the device.
And if you were an executive,
you go and live with them. As customers, as employees, you make sure you understand them. That's why I've always said anthropology and sociology and psychology are the bread and butter of selling any product to anybody.
What a great conversation. Thanks, Nick.
Pleasure. Enjoyed it.